Welcome to another special edition of the Russia House. I'm here in Moscow, courtesy of the National Unity Club. They've been perfect hosts, and we're hosted today by Itar Tas. We're in the historic headquarters of Itar Tas, downtown Moscow, a place where important news has been reported over the years, important stories. And today we're going to cover a story that should be very important, especially in the West, but maybe hasn't attracted the attention it should. And it's the story of how humanity is abused by conflict. And this is a very personal story because today I'm going to be talking about it with my guest, Maxim Ryndovskyi. He is a mixed martial arts fighter. I'm very afraid of sitting across from you. I don't want to get you angry. So, if I say anything wrong, give me a warning. But MMA fighter from Ukraine. You're a Ukrainian. Is this correct?
Yes, I was born in Kiev. I am from Ukraine. Presently, I am a citizen of Ukraine. Of course, getting also Russian citizenship right now. I didn't do any actions towards it, but in the near future, I'm thinking about it. I will be active.
But when you fought, you identified as a Ukrainian.
Yes,
A
100% right.
proud Ukrainian. You were proud to be Ukrainian.
Of course, but for me, it doesn't matter what flag is raising up. For me, there are different things that matter. That's our culture, our history, our faith that we share, as you know. Right now, there's a huge run after the Orthodox Church on a Ukrainian territory. There's some persecution that takes place. It really doesn't matter the flag. There are more important things than the flag. That's what I'm trying to say.
I agree with you, but the point I'm trying to make is that when you fought for Ukraine as a Ukrainian. But when you trained for the love of the sport. You trained with people who could help advance your skills. And my understanding is that you at one time trained with Akhmat. Why? Why did you pick Akhmat to train with?
That's a very interesting question because I have never trained with Akhmat Club.
No.
It never took place. I took participation in Dagestan sports meeting. Mr. Magomedov, the father of Habib, and he's an ex-champion of UFC. At that platform, I was taking part. Yes, among my friends, I do have Chechens. We communicate well. We're friends. I was in Grozny, but only for one day. But I was never training. I never took trainings with a Chechen club, Akhmat.
Well, the reason why I mentioned that, and we're going to discuss something now that may be painful, and I apologize for that. I first saw you on the internet, on a video, a horrible video, and you were being beaten, tortured, abused by Ukrainian nationalists. And they were mocking you because they claimed that you had trained with Akhmat, that you were more Akhmat than you were Ukrainian. But this is the danger of the internet, is that the information isn't always correct. But the point is, for the simple love of the sport, for simply training with people who also love the sport as much as you did, you were somehow singled out as being unpatriotic to Ukraine by people whom I wouldn't call Ukrainian patriots. Could you, and again, I don't want to recreate something that's unpleasant, but could you discuss how it came to be that you were captured by, I believe it was Azov persons, and why they treated you the way they did?
It happened to me not because I did something, but because I did not refuse from my roots, from my faith, from my culture. I didn't change the plates. I didn't change the shoes. That's the saying that I didn't betray anybody. And a lot of people, unfortunately, now they're zombied, and people change. And I didn't change the camps. I know exactly where I come from. I know my family tree, and due to that, because of that, I was always standing on the principles. I didn't turn my face 180 degrees, and people like this are not comfortable for them. What they want that the people to obey them, do what they say, and of course, Ukrainian propaganda began this campaign been a long time ago. It's not after 2022 and not after 2014. In the beginning of 2000, I was a small kid. I was just a boy. Remember, we had President Yushchenko as a president of Ukraine, and you could. I was really a kid. I think I was 12 years old when he became a president, and we were watching how they rewrite the history, how there's changing of the principles of the. Of course, even then, I couldn't understand what was going on. How come it takes place? If I was raised, I had one heroes that I followed, what I believed in, and now they call him betrayer, the ones who betrayed, and they take out their monuments. I couldn't find out why it was taking place.
You know, in the West, in the United States, when people mention Azov or Adar or Kraken or any of these other names, when we mention Bandera, what we're told is it's just a small part of Ukraine. You exaggerate their influence. You exaggerate this. You allow a handful of bad apples to define, a noble country. But you mentioned Yushchenko, and you mentioned, he made Stepan Bandera the national hero of Ukraine. Is Banderism just a small part of Ukraine, or is it a larger problem that everybody should be concerned about?
Very good and important question. Thank you for asking. Without any doubt, I'm not saying that all Ukrainians are Nazis, but I think, unfortunately, from 3 to 5% radicals, they are there. They popularize the Nazism. Bandera is the hero for them. Hitler is their hero, and we could go on. Do they have the power and authority? Yes, they have the authority. It's all supported by the government structures, by the authorities. That's not propaganda. I watched it with my own eyes personally. I went through it all. And of course, counting in that small percent, it's small. Nevertheless, one radical, it's more dangerous than 1,000 real citizens.
My observation also is that it's not just the one radical that's dangerous, but it's the silent majority that allow the one radical to be heard. Again, I don't mean to be insulting to anybody, but I watched videos of common Ukrainian citizens being saran wrapped to telephone poles, had their faces painted green, and nobody intervened. Nobody stopped to help. People either walked by indifferently or they actually cheered on, slapped people, spanked people, humiliated people. These weren't radical Azov people. These were average Ukrainians. Why? Why are the Ukrainian people tolerant of this kind of abuse of humans? Is it because the Ukrainians hate Russia so much that they allow people to have their face painted green and to be insulted in this way?
Concerning hate for Russians, I want to emphasize this. 99% of all the Ukrainization was built on Russophobia. You have to understand that. It's very important. Concerning the people's attitude, unfortunately, they are being scared. They have fear in their hearts. They don't have the right to speak a word or for their faith or to voice something out. In 2014, when there was a revolution took place, the active participants were the people from the near football, soccer, ultra movement. Of course, I had a chance to meet them, to talk to them. I stopped having any connections with them, with their political views. It's connected with, first of all, that they were putting Hitler and Bandera as heroes. Though I am a citizen of Ukraine, I'm born in Kiev, my roots go there over 100 years. Nevertheless, I'm ethnical Russian, because earlier, we never separated. My grandfather, he is from Chernigov district. Then it was Russian Empire. And then the first one who moved to Kiev was my great-grandfather. He's a political activist from the revolution from Kazan. The peasants attacked their house, beat them up, and the story is being repeated, unfortunately. But in the other time, the point is that people are afraid. People are scared. This is the cornerstone. And they're intimidated. And those football, soccer fans, and whoever is in that team, people are afraid. One word, and you're gone.
Look, you're a sportsman of a very high degree. You have soccer clubs, they're sportsmen, and you have the fans of the soccer clubs. You have your own fans, mixed martial art fans. What is it about football that allows people who should be similar to gravitate towards radical nationalism? Why, for instance, aren't you a radical nationalist? You're a fighter, you're violent in a controlled way, but why aren't you a radical nationalist? I mean, what makes you different than the football club members of Kharkov who became the heart and soul of the Azov movement?
Probably I was blessed enough where the propaganda could not take me in, they couldn't buy me after the situation and the torture that took place in my life. Yes, they were trying to hire me. During all that time when I was on the territory of Ukraine, always many people told me that here, say something bad about Russia, judge them, the special operation, and so on. But I was faithful to my principles. Of course, it's connected, first of all, with I was interested in the history, especially in the history of my family tree. And I know that I have a lot of relatives on Ukrainian territory, modern Ukraine, here in Kazan, Nizhny Novgorod. Exactly on Friday, I'm going to my uncle. It's his birthday. I will see him for the first time. And I think that I did not forget my roots plays a key role.
We know you were beaten. We saw it on the video. You were abused horribly. Two questions. The first one's the easy of the two. How did you get out of Ukraine? How did you become free of the Azov people? How did you make your way to Russia?
After I was beaten, first, the videos that you watched me, that was just the beginning. I was just a drop in the sea, what I went through. After that, I was taken to Podolsky militia department. Then the real torture started there. I think I can say I went through hell. I was shocked with electricity. They beat on my heels. I have a trauma in my head. My ribs were broken.
после чего
Then
я терял несколько раз сознание.
I lost consciousness.
Чувства обливали
They
водой.
put ice water on me,
Конечно,
and I came back.
сложно было даже не так физически,
It
как
wasn't
морально.
difficult as physically, you know, in my mind it was difficult.
После этого меня передали
And
сразу
after
же там
that,
же
I was passed on to, right there,
безопасности Украины.
to the special services of
Я был
Ukraine.
не в состоянии соображать.
I wasn't able to think about anything.
В очень сильно подавленном
I
психоэмоциональном
was
состоянии.
depressed,
Они
emotionally
мне дали
pressed.
какую-то бумагу
They gave me some kind of paper
и сказали, у тебя
and
есть
said,
выбор.
you have a choice.
Либо ты ее сейчас
Either you're going to
подписываешь,
sign this paper,
либо мы отправляем тебя на базу Азова,
or we're going to send you to Azov base,
и мы с тобой все прощаемся.
and we all say goodbye to you.
И не оставят в живых.
That they would not
Разумеется,
let
я
me leave.
подписал эту бумагу.
Of course,
Я
I
ее даже
signed
не
the paper.
читал.
I didn't even read it.
Подозреваю, что, скорее всего,
I
это
think
было
something was
сотрудничество
about the
или
partnership or agreement to deal with them, whatever it was. They were trying to build a game of a good and bad policeman.
все мы прекрасно
But we all
понимаем,
know
что
that
действуют вместе.
they're acting all together. That's all one team.
Такая политическая хунта, я бы ее назвал,
Political slavery of people.
у которой, конечно же, интересы в первую очередь это финансы.
Their interests are only in money.
Выше, чем
It's like a
свою
junta.
историю, веру, культуру.
They
Я буду это постоянно
take it
повторять,
above
потому что
their
для меня это
faith
важно.
and culture. You know, I'm going to repeat that many times. These are my principles. This is what I live with. They put money above their faith and their principles. And after that situation, I was taken home,
Но я прекрасно
but I
понимал,
understood
что
clearly
меня везде выставили,
that they
я был
put me
для всех
out
предателем.
everywhere. I was a betrayer for everybody. And of course, they would never give me a second chance. I could not come out of the house safe.
И в этот момент,
And at that moment,
казалось, потом,
as
он
it-
тоже меня пытался завербовать, покойный
another guy, he's gone now, he's dead,
мой товарищ,
my friend,
он со мной связался,
he got connected with me.
говорит, надо выезжать.
And he said, listen, you have to leave. He went to Vinnytsia. It was a horrible time. I was always sitting home from one apartment to another apartment to a third apartment. Plus, they stole everything from me. I had no money. I had nothing to my name.
И вынесли
They took out
зарегистрированное
registered
на меня оружие.
weapon that I had on my
Мне
name.
пришлось писать
I
заявление,
had to sign a paper,
иначе, если бы они его
a claim that if they would kill somebody,
понимаем, чем это
you understand, they would put it on me. We know what it would end up with. They stole the money, old coins I had.
как обычный
You know,
вор.
usual, just like thieves, regular thieves.
И после этого, как
And
я
after
уехал в
that,
Винницу,
once I left to Vinnytsia,
почему я узнал, что
why I found out that he was trying to hire me.
достаточно смешная история.
It's kind of
Когда
funny
мы сидели в
story.
машине, я увидел, как в Телеграме
I saw how in Telegram, it's funny story, he was trying to recruit me. And I said that Ryndik, we have him, but
друг,
though he was a friend, a showing a friend, but when I analyze everything here, you know, we have to,
повторяли,
they kept saying the same thing. You gotta open your hearts, orcs, and continue to repeat the same words about Russia, like orcs. And the key moment was
Дмитруком,
I called Artyom Dmitruk.
вы знакомы,
You probably know him.
начали общаться.
We started chatting.
Он так удивленно,
He was very surprised. He said, are you still in Ukraine? After all the whole situation I had, I'm trying to find a way out because
переживаю за свою безопасность,
I'm concerned about my safety.
как я ранее упомянул, мне
As I mentioned earlier, they would never give me a second chance.
и Артем помог
And Artyom helped me
выехать с Винницы.
to leave Vinnytsia to Odessa.
В Одессе
In Odessa,
некоторое время я был с
I
ним,
was sometime with him,
после чего я нашел,
and then I found some possible exits.
были цыгане,
These were gypsies.
они меня вывезли
They took me out,
за определенную плату.
definitely for some money. That's the first time I'm sharing this truth because earlier I had to, in my social network, said that I came out on my own because it's connected with
Находясь в Европе,
being in Europe or in a territory of Ukraine, they would never hear me.
здесь,
Here
в Москве,
in Moscow,
в России,
in Russia,
я не чувствую себя украинцем,
I don't feel myself Ukrainian in Moscow.
чувствую себя
I feel myself,
своих,
I am
я чувствую,
my
что здесь
own
меня
among my
готовы
own.
слушать,
I see
самое
that people are
главное
ready
услышать.
to hear me here and listen to me.
И здесь начинается
And here, of course,
вторая
the
часть.
second part of the
После того, как я оказался
story.
в Молдове,
Once I
ситуация,
was in
которая со мной
Moldavia,
произошла, люди,
the situation that happened to me, the
являются
people that
сторонниками, так
were
сказать,
the
гуманистических идей,
pro-humanitarian
таких со мной
thoughts
связался.
and principles. One of them connected with me. He is from France.
Огромная благодарность.
I want to say many thanks. I'm not going to say his name because, time will come whenever that comes. He gave me a ticket from Moldova to Paris.
Прилетел, он меня встретил.
He met me there. I was not shaved. I was not cut. I had to grow a beard. I had long bridges, long shirt sleeves. It was very hot. And after that, he helped me.
На протяжении всего этого времени
During all this time, I was living with him at his house.
он помог мне.
He helped me with the paperwork and whatever was needed. In France, I didn't go after comfort.
А затем, чтобы восстановиться,
But to be restored, I just had to have some time to be back. Here in Moscow, I feel like I'm home.
славянское
I
пространство,
came back to my Slavic people. Every Sunday, I can go to church.
общаться
I can,
душевно.
I can talk to people heart to heart.
Вот примерно вот такой путь.
So this is the way, this is the path I had during this time.
It's a very brave path. The second thing I wanted to tell you, look, I come from a military background, and my specialty in the military required me to be prepared if I were taking captivity. And so there's a special training they put you through where you are given information, you're told you can't tell the information, and then they proceed to torture you, beat you, abuse you to try to get you to tell this information. The important lesson that came out of this training is that every man has a breaking point. No man is a rock. And it was important for us to learn this so that we didn't put ourselves through unnecessary torture. We were told we needed to hold on to certain information for a certain period of time, and then we could begin to release it in bits and pieces, inaccurate, whatever, but to make the torture go, to lessen it. The most important thing, though, is we never lose faith with our core values, who we are, what we are. We never betray our nation. Betraying information, signing a piece of paper, it's nothing. That's what I want to pass on to you. You didn't betray anybody when you signed that paper. You went through more than any human being could possibly be expected to go through. And you've stayed true to your values. You've stayed true to your God. You've stayed true to your family, to your faith. So you have nothing to be ashamed of. You have everything to be proud of. It's an honor and privilege for me to talk to you. Are the Russians trying to learn from your experience? Because it seems to me that your experience, if you were an American, I'd be taking you to these people and having them talk to you on how to incorporate the lessons of your experience into our training, and what you went through and how we can simulate that, et cetera. I don't know if you can talk about that, but are you sharing your experiences with the Russians? Because a soldier is a soldier. It's important that soldiers know that stay true to who you are, and you're the perfect example of that, but don't take it to the extreme where they're going to kill you.
Скажу так.
This is what I can say. With the faith in the Lord Jesus Christ and God, the road will be blessed. All the time I was tortured, I was praying. I was afraid. Of course I was afraid. Sometimes it's hard for me to remember this moment. But with that faith in my heart, I was able to go through it. This is probably the key moment. Of course, the risks of what I'm speaking right now, they're there. It would be easier not to remember it, not to get into the past, not to get through emotions, and just as hard psychology-wise. And concerning betrayal, I think it would be betrayal to be quiet. Because right now we're speaking for those
закрыли рот.
whose mouth is being shut. They're being continually tortured, illegally kept.
Вот.
This is it.
What are you doing now? Are you training? Are you continuing to train? It looks like you're doing some tussling here and there. Are you staying in shape? Do you plan to get back into the ring? What's the future hold for Maxim?
В 2017 году
In
я завершил
2017,
спортивную карьеру,
I finished my sports
но
career.
когда я
But,
выехал в 22 году
but when
на
I
территорию Украины,
left Ukraine in 22,
мне нужно было как-то
I had to
социализироваться.
socialize in a way.
Конечно,
And
лучший
of course, the
способ
best
было
way
пойти в зал.
is sports, go to the gym.
Спустя несколько месяцев
Some months
я
later,
уже
I was
выступил на
having
международном турнире
at
по
the international
бразильскому
tour on
грэпплингу, грэпплингу.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
В финале по
And
джиу-джитсу
final on Jiu-Jitsu,
мне порвали связки, сломали руку.
my springs were, my arm was broken, my hand was broken, and the same day, with one hand, I was on a grappling.
Занял первое
I
место,
took the first place
после чего был
with a
долгий
broken
процесс
arm,
восстановления,
then a
реабилитации.
long-term rehabilitation, restoration in Europe. It's more difficult in Europe. I came here already with a trauma, and very quickly I was able to rehabilitate because there's special sports centers, for rehabilitation.
И на данный
And
момент
at the
я
moment,
возобновил свою карьеру.
I have relaunched my career. I changed the specialty. I am having sportsmanship on grappling on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. In 2024 and beginning of 25, they were quite good.
Мне довелось стать чемпионом мира
I
по
became
бразильскому джиу-джитсу.
a champion of the world on the purple belts on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Abu Dhabi, Master 1, and plus 4 times European champion also on colored belts of Jiu-Jitsu and grappling.
Да, конечно, я продолжаю
So I continue, yes, to keep my shape. I continue to fight, and as I said earlier in 2017, I finished that career.
морально
And morally, I'm ready.
тому, что это
In my mind, I'm ready. This is not my main path in the life. Yes, it makes me stronger physically,
но я считаю, есть
but I
вещи
think that there are
намного
things
важнее.
that are more important,
Даже вот мы с
even
вами сейчас общаемся,
like us sitting and talking.
просто несопоставимые
You
вещи.
cannot compare the two.
Это намного, конечно,
It's
важнее.
a lot
Но
more
я
important,
продолжаю
but I
тренироваться,
continue to
потому что
practice, yes,
такие банальные
because,
вещи всегда
simple
дают
things I always say that in my networks, that 4 things that we have to be developing. That's physically,
интеллектуально,
intellectually, spiritually, and socially.
Well, you are a living example of all of those things. I am very inspired by your story. I'm inspired by your faith and motivated by your physical fitness. If you ever have time in the future to train an old fat Marine on some of the skills, I'd be honored to go in the ring with you, just for training purposes. Nothing more serious than that. But I want to thank you, Maxim, for joining me today on this discussion. It's been a very important discussion. I hope people listen to your story and learn from your story as I have. You are a prime example of what a human being should be, what a man should be. And it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you.
И вам огромное спасибо.
Thank you
Я
very
рад,
much.
что
I'm glad that we're here
то, что мы с вами
and that we're together,
не возводим стены,
not putting the walls,
строим мосты,
but building the bridges.
потому что правда
The truth, in a long term,
всегда побеждает.
will always win.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a special edition of the Russia House with a special guest, Maxim Ryndovskyi, MMA fighter, but more importantly, a man of faith, a man of courage, a man of character, and a hell of a good fighter too. I want to thank the National Unity Club for allowing this to take place. I want to thank TASS, and I want to thank you for joining us today. Again, Maxim, thank you very much.
Спасибо и вам большое.